Welcome to SuperCoach, and today we're going to take a look at Paddy Ryder and discuss a few things about his selection process for SuperCoach 2017. Of course, if you haven't previewed any of these player profiles so far, it's where I take a look at the most popular players for SuperCoach 2017 and give my thoughts. Firstly, the positives, negatives, followed by a verdict. So I guess at the moment Ryder is fairly popular. He's in 25.8% of sides, so he's certainly worth discussing. And I guess first off, it's worth talking about why he's creating so much popularity and is in quite a number of sides. The appeal is obvious. You know, he's a forward ruck, he's cheap, $418,000, and I guess it's never been more relevant now that Goldstein's gone down. We're having a few negative thoughts around Stephen Martin and him sharing the ruck with Archie Smith, so there's a few concerns. A lot of people will be going with probably Gawn, Grundy, but certainly I think that ruck 2 position is wide open for anyone to really take. But not only has he been priced quite nicely for us, obviously missing last year with the drug ban, he has averaged over 100 twice previously and above 90 another 2 times as well. So he's shown that he is a very good scorer, and I guess the kicker is at Port Adelaide, it's perceived that he does have the number 1 ruck role there for the taking if he's good enough. Of course, Matty Lobbe is seemingly in the wilderness at the moment and doesn't quite seem to be fitting in at Port Adelaide like he was, say, 2 to 3 years ago. So very interesting that in itself. So the positives are clear. He's cheap, he's a forward ruck, gives us that insurance, and obviously we know he can score points as shown in his previous seasons. On the negative side of things is he's only played that 1 season at Port Adelaide and it only returned an average of 85.4. And I guess time heals everything. We may have forgotten how much of a concern it was for him trying to pair up with Lobbe and just how poorly those two bonded. Didn't work with Ryder playing forward, it didn't work with them sharing the ruck, neither benefited. Statistically, nothing really changed compared to his real top years. He obviously averaged a few less more hit-outs, probably didn't hit the scoreboard like he would have liked, but there wasn't a standout stat that we said, well, look, that's why he didn't average as high. I just don't think he fit into Port Adelaide's mix as well as they would have liked. I guess also worth noting is the fact that Lobbe is still around. Where does Ryder fit in? And not to mention, he has missed a lot of footy, and there's obvious risk with that. That'll take me to my verdict. Now, I obviously want to spend a little bit more time on the verdict because I think the pros and cons have been well documented for Ryder. It's about handing down the verdict that is really where you make your money, and Ryder won't be entering my side. I'm not convinced at all. I know a lot of people are picking him just to make a little bit of money, be a quality stepping stone, a guy who averages 90 odd, can be in your F5, F6, and you can swap him into the ruck department if necessary. That is nice in theory, but I just don't feel like I want to, not waste, but use a full selection on maybe a guy that I feel I could use it better elsewhere. I personally don't think Ryder will be in the top 3 or 4 rucks, and I also don't think he'll be in the top 8 forwards. And that just leaves me with the question of, well, why should I pick him? I know, of course, it would be nice to have a little bit of insurance in case, you know, you go with the Sandilands or Gawn goes down early. That'll be a lot of people's thinking that he's probably a guy with flexibility, nicely priced, bit of upside, and is a good backup plan over 2 positions. It's not enough for me personally. I know the positives are there, but I just don't feel like he's worth selecting, not only on the fact that I don't think he's a lock to go 90 plus. I think there's still a lot to be desired about how he does fit into the Port Adelaide ruck setup, and I guess so far, if today's game's anything to go by against the Saints, I must say I didn't see it. I was at work for most of the day, but he didn't really set the world on fire. The Saints combination really dominated the ruck, and he and Lobbe didn't get too many hit-outs. I think he kicked a goal, 70% game time, and only about the 6 or 7 touches last time I looked. So, didn't exactly set the world on fire. But as I say, we can't always take these pre-season games as the be-all and end-all, but I think in Ryder's case, we certainly take a little bit of notice because we need to see his position clearly outlined and also see how he's returning physically, because it has been a long time. So I'm just not going to go with him. I don't have the belief that he can score what we need. I'm much more comfortable with really going for my ruck 2, being convinced on who it is, and if they get injured, that's just part of the game. I don't feel like it's worthwhile maybe selling off a position for a little bit of insurance just in case someone gets injured. And on the flip side, I'm just not sold on his scoring. I mean, he's not super cheap. 418 is not dirt cheap. It's still somewhat pricey. I wouldn't have thought he's going to make you much more than 60, 70, maybe 80k if he really gets going. He might be able to push to 550 potentially if he really gets going. But I guess my way of thought is I don't feel that he's got 95 plus in him. I think when we look through his averages, we've got to keep in mind that average of 90.9 in 2011, then 105, 90 and 101, got to keep in mind that was at the Bombers. Very good player at the Bombers, a quality scorer. The jury's out at Port Adelaide. We don't know. We don't have much history to go on. He's missed a season. We're unsure where he fits in. There's just too many unknowns for mine. So I think just the uncertainty on not only position but scoring output with his new club is just going to be too much for me. And the mere fact that he is 420k is not cheap enough for me to feel that even if he doesn't absolutely ace it, then I've sort of got my money's worth. I feel like if you're picking him, he really needs to give all of the best of 95 average. So that's just my take on Ryder. I know when I did Port Adelaide's preview, not everyone agreed with my thoughts on Ryder, as is evidenced by him being in nearly 26% of sides. I'll be interested to see how he does go through the JLT Community Series. I understand the thinking behind it, why people would pick him, but just for me, he won't be in my side. I'm looking closer at other options, but for me, Ryder will not be making his way into Shorty Superstars for 2017. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Next up, I will be taking a look at another fella that we can select in the forward line. As far as I'm concerned, this man is an absolute lock and everyone should be on him. He's a new dual position player and I'll preview him probably over the weekend or early next week. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. Comments are always welcome. If you haven't commented yet, by all means, get stuck into it and let me know what you're thinking and tell me if you're selecting Ryder. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. So thanks again, guys. I'll catch you soon.